Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, we are live at Sakaraval Hospital. We have our expert, Dr. Hem Kumar, consultant internal medicine. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good afternoon.
We are here in discussion of hyperthyroidism. Doctor, if you can introduce this hyperthyroidism and what is it about?
So, hyperthyroidism is a disease of overactive thyroid gland. If you see your neck, both sides of the neck, there is a gland called thyroid, which is like a bat. It's like a bat wing. The gland is on both the sides of the neck, and this gland, I would say, is like a gear and accelerator of our body. If somebody can drive a vehicle, they can easily understand the importance of gear and the accelerator. So we have the heart, we have the muscles, which make our body work in whatever way we want to. We want to run, we want to work, we want to study, we want to think. All these things require energy. So our energy, the petrol is our food, and also we call it as ATP. How this food is processed, how fast it is processed, this is controlled by the thyroid gland. Say for example, you are in a first gear, you want to climb a inclination, you are in first gear.
Right.
You want to go in 100 km speed, you are in a fifth gear or sixth gear. That's in your
right.
car.
Yes.
So it's thyroid gland is the accelerator and the gear put together. The nature has given such a mechanism that our energy is utilized in a proper and a particular speed at any point of time. So these thyroid glands, when it overworks, that is called as hyperthyroidism. We call it as overactive thyroid gland in Western countries. So in medical terminology, we call it as hyper. Hyper, we can simply remember high. It is high. It is working high, more than normal. So this is called hyperthyroidism. So this is usually a disease of female, but not only restricted to females. Okay. The thyroid diseases, most of the thyroid diseases, for some unknown reason, the women are more affected compared to the men. But it doesn't mean men cannot get any of these diseases. Once upon a time, the thyroid diseases were very, very prevalent in India. We all know our common salt is now advertised every time, publicized as iodized salt. The major reason for iodized salt is thyroid diseases. Once upon a time in India, 1970s and 80s, thyroid diseases were so rampant, so the government has to make a decision to stop the selling of non-iodized salt entirely. So in India, unless we have a specific medical reason or for cattle consumption, we cannot sell a non-iodized salt. Such a rampant disease it was. Now we have little easy access to the diagnostic, so we feel the disease is more common. But even in the past, the disease was very common but undiagnosed, largely due to the lack of medical facilities. Thank you. Can
sir, here are a few questions from our viewers. Can we go ahead, sir?
Yes, please.
Okay. Sir, what are the causes of hyperthyroidism?
So when we say cause, it doesn't have a direct cause, something like say a fever, so which could be caused by a viral or bacterial reason. Hyperthyroidism is mostly caused by multiple factors. One of the factors is our body's reaction against our own thyroid glands. We call it as autoimmune. So our body recognizes our thyroid tissue as something foreign, and it starts producing some antibodies which can destroy the thyroid gland. In this process, the thyroid gland starts releasing the thyroid hormone which is present in the gland, and this causes hyperthyroidism. This is one type. And the second type is very common. We call it as toxic multinodular goiter. Again, in my childhood, I remember very well, we used to see lots of old women, grandmothers who has a large swelling in the neck. Sometimes even it could be hanging. This is called goiter. This is a swelling of the thyroid gland. We call something as multinodular goiter, which is toxic. The toxic, why we say is it produces more thyroid and causes so much discomfort to the patient. So we call it as toxic multinodular goiter. This is a second reason. Third, some of the drugs can induce hyperthyroidism. Some drugs used in the cardiac diseases to reduce the heart rhythm changes. So those drugs also can cause this type of hyperthyroidism. So there is no one particular reason, but most often we can find the reasons by doing some simple lab test, and whatever be the reason, the treatment protocol is going to be similar for most of the causes of hyperthyroidism.
So what is the difference between hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism?
Yeah, so the simple way, that's what I told. Hyper, you remember as or we have Hypercity, Hypernet, and all those things. So something which is fast, which is more, is called hyper. So in this, what happens is the thyroid is working faster. The thyroid is secreting the hormone much higher than what is really required for our body. And hypo is something where the hormone requirement is not met by the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is not secreting enough hormones. So we usually see in the clinics patients coming with reports and worried that whether it is hyper or hypo, because we use a test called as a TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. This thyroid stimulating hormone usually is higher in hypothyroidism, where the thyroid gland is working, and it is lower in hyperthyroidism, where the thyroid gland is overworking. So this is because it is a feedback mechanism. So when the gland is working more, it signals the brain telling that I don't want to secrete anymore, so you give me lesser input. So that is why the TSH is low. So many people get confused with that, so don't get confused. You can meet your physician, endocrinologist always and get clarified. So hyperthyroidism, the overworking thyroid. So this thyroid gland is more faster to identify, more easier to identify than the hypothyroidism. So both are different entities and both are extremely opposite entities.
Sir, what are the symptoms actually, sir, for hyperthyroidism?
So again, we can go back to the vehicle example.
Yes.
For example, you are in gear 1 and you are going in a highway in gear 1. So you are giving extra throttle input, so you can go only at 10 km speed. There is a traffic in the highway, but you don't understand the traffic. You keep pressing the accelerator. The vehicle starts shuddering. The vehicles start heating up. The vehicle start shaking up. The vehicle creates more noise. So, and the vehicle exhaust also becomes more. Simple way of remembering is, you start shivering, the vehicle shudders, your temperature becomes more. Many people with hyperthyroidism even come as a fever which is not diagnosed. So your body becomes warm, heated up, because you are using more energy than what is really required, and you start tremors because there is more energy level. Your body starts just shivering. The hormone is telling the muscles to work. So people will be restless, they will be shivering, they will be sweating more, and they will be having lots of hunger, appetite. They eat more, but they won't gain weight. They are very thin, but they are always hungry because so much fuel. It's like you have to fill the petrol every now and then. If you are going in first gear only, you have to fill the petrol now and then. So it's the same way. You have to keep on eating. The tank is getting empty, you keep eating. The tank is getting empty, you keep eating. So these are the simple signs, and one of the very prominent signs are your eyes, bulging out of your eyes. We call it as proptosis. So your eyes will be bulging out because of some changes in the tissues behind your eyes. You will have a very prominent bulging out eye, something like the Mr. Bean's eyes. So something like that you will have. So it's easily understandable. People say very prominent eyes, shivering, thin, hungry always, sweating, and hot to touch. So these are the simple way to remember the symptoms of hyperthyroidism.
Sir, can this be cured completely?
Yes, most of the hyperthyroidism related conditions are curable completely. It is not like hypothyroidism, which is probably a deficiency. In hypothyroidism, what happens? The gland doesn't secrete more, so we have to keep supplementing the hormones continuously through the lifetime. But in hyperthyroidism, the gland is working more. All we have to do is cut down the working of the gland, slow it down so that it can go back to its normalcy. Sometimes what happens, we may fail to do this. We may overshoot the mandate, and the gland can become hypothyroid while we are doing the treatment. But usually hypothyroidism is much easier to manage, much less harmful than the hyperthyroidism. So we always try to treat and control the hyperthyroidism to a level where we don't require further treatment. So essentially it is a curable disease, but not without a consequence.
Sir, can hyperthyroidism cause mental problems?
As I told, they will be very hyper. So when we say people only, we say, no, see, this fellow is hyper. Say hyperactive. So these people are very hyperactive. So they will not have sleep properly. They will not have a proper sleep. So they will be restless. Through the night, they will be awake. Their sleep will be for hardly 3 to 4 hours because they have so much energy burning up in their body. So they won't be able to rest well. So this in turn can cause some sorts of disturbances, mental disturbance, but it doesn't cause any direct mental disturbance. As such, a higher thyroid hormone doesn't cause any mental disturbance, but lower thyroid hormone, we call previously slightly mental retarded people in a derogatory way as a cretin. So simply the disease of low thyroid hormone is called cretinism when it happens in the children. But the hyperthyroidism, they are slightly overactive, not as such a mental problem, but some disturbance, something like your type A personality. Most of the hyperthyroid people will be like a type A personality. They cannot sit at one place. They keep working more. They keep running around. They are more active people. So that's it to the mental issues, but it doesn't cause. So
Sir,
contrary to the
can hyperthyroidism caused by stress or something?
No, stress, we attribute lots of our problems to stress. So unlike hypertension, which can be per se caused by stress, hyperthyroidism cannot be caused by the stress, but it can aggravate the symptoms. Somebody who is stressed out can manifest the symptoms very easily. They will start having lots of uneasiness and lots of discomfort because of the continuous high bodily activities, high metabolic activities.
Right.
So add on to that stress, the symptoms will be more exaggerated.
So what is the best treatment for this hyperthyroidism?
So there is no single answer to this question. Best treatment is first go to a doctor and first diagnose it, what type of hyperthyroidism it is, whether it is a goiter, whether it is a thyroiditis. So in that thyroiditis, we call it as autoimmune thyroiditis. First, we should find out what type of hyperthyroidism it is. Some of these autoimmune thyroiditis, what happens is the persistent antibodies in the body destroys the thyroid gland over a period of time. So this high activity of the thyroid glands will last for around 18 months to 24 months. As the glands gets destroyed, it will slowly, the activity of the gland comes down, either to a minimal level or no activity. Then we have to treat them for hypothyroidism. This is a spontaneous resolution. It will go off on its own. All we have to do is treat the symptoms with some medicines to reduce the heart rate. They will be having a higher heart rate. To reduce that, give some medicines to make them calm down. Give some medicines to avoid weight loss, some protein supplementation and things like that. And these, over a period of time, we can keep them monitoring. They may not require any specific medication. They may become normal or hypothyroid over a period of time. This is one type of disease. Another type of problem is the toxic multinodular goiter, where the lots of glands are there swelling. The swollen thyroid gland keeps producing more and more thyroid tissue. So if it is very dangerous to the person, even a surgery is usually advised, where most of the thyroid gland is removed. A very small part of the thyroid gland to do its normal work is left over, and the other parts are removed. This is second treatment. Third is, we call it as radioactive iodine ablation. What we give is it's like a nuclear bomb, we can say. you give a small quantity of, very small quantity of radioactive iodine. So we all know iodine gets concentrated mostly in the thyroid gland only. So whatever the iodine we give as a medicine, usually as a oral solution we will give. So this gets absorbed and it gets concentrated in the thyroid gland. So this radioactive iodine, like a small nuclear weapon, destroys that thyroid gland where it is concentrated. So eventually leading to the gland becoming dysfunctional and the symptoms of hyperthyroidism abate. This is third way of treating. Easiest and most common way of treating this is giving something called as antithyroid tablets. So there are 2-3 varieties of tablets available. Most of them are very commonly used ones, but they are all liver toxic tablets, and some of them cannot be used in pregnancy. Some of them can cause, though commonly used, very uncommon side effect. Say maybe 1 in 600 or 1 in 700 patient can land up with a complication like reduced bone marrow, red blood cell production, and all those things. So this can happen in these tablets. So tablets, though it is commonly used methodology, we use it as a temporary measure. We cannot use it forever. So we use it for a period of say 6 months, 1 year to 2 years, and we see whether the gland gets dysfunctional on its own and requirement of medicine comes down. If that doesn't happen, then we have to go for either radioactive iodine ablation or we go for a surgery.
Sir, is hyperthyroidism a lifelong disease?
So as I have told, unlikely to be a lifelong disease, but we have seen patients who are on thyroid medication with hyperthyroidism for years, even for decades we have seen. But most often, this autoimmune thyroiditis, it goes for auto-destruction of the gland and it becomes restricted and becomes a hypothyroidism. This is the most common presentation. So if you say, just like that, if you ask, I would say most of the people with hyperthyroidism will not have it lifelong.
Yes.
Maybe for a period of time, then they will become hypothyroidism or normal thyroidism.
Sir, can I check this test, thyroid test at home?
No, if you ask a lab collection at home, it's okay, but there is no way you can test the thyroid at home. It's not like a blood sugar measurement at home. So you have to visit a lab or get a person to collect your blood sample at appropriate time. There are a few varieties of tests. We call it as the most commonly used is the TSH.
Yes.
Thyroid stimulating hormone. And then we directly measure the thyroid hormones itself, thyroxine, T4, and the active form is called T3, triiodothyronine, tetraiodothyronine. So these can be measured. Even in this, there are some advanced assays which measure the free T4, free T3. And again, we can measure the antibodies of the antibodies that produce thyroid, that destroys the thyroid. We call it as anti-TPO, that is anti-thyroid peroxidase antibodies, anti-thyroglobulin antibodies. So these are various parameters which are available for testing. Depending on the clinical conditions, we can do this lab test at home only, means they can come and collect it. But there's no test which you can do it on your own and diagnose it. Maybe the symptoms you can be watchful, but not for the lab test. Yeah.
So apart from this TSH test, any other test for this disease?
Yeah, so these are blood parameters, as you have told. These are various parameters we check in the blood to find out whether we have a thyroid disease. Once we diagnose that we have a thyroid disease, we have some radiological and nuclear imaging technology and nuclear imaging procedures to find out what type of disease it is. So first we can do a simple ultrasound scan, the one we use for the abdomen or for the heart as a echo. A small ultrasound scan can be done on the thyroid gland, which can tell us whether there are nodules, which is very helpful in finding out whether any cancerous type of growth is there, and also whether the growth is very uniform, whether there are multiple nodules. If at all we are going to do a test where we have to do the test, even thyroiditis can be directly diagnosed with a simple ultrasound, which is commonly done in a ultrasound laboratory, radiological laboratory, by a doctor who performs a radiological test. So it can be done by them. And then second thing is we call it as a thyroid radioactive iodine scan. We can do it. and also technicians we can do it. What we do that is we give these substances either as a orally or in case of technician we can give it as injections, and we see how it gets concentrated in the thyroid glands. So based on the concentration we differentiate it into a cold nodule, warm nodule, and based on the appearance we get clues whether it is a thyroiditis, whether it is a Graves or hyperthyroidism, whether there is a cancerous growth. So these things can be diagnosed with those nuclear imaging studies. And another test is the most important test if we suspect a cancer, which is a biopsy, fine needle aspiration cytology, where after finding where is the growth, what we do is we put a small needle over there and take a small liquid or a substance from the thyroid gland and send it for the examination under microscope, which can tell us whether it is a cancerous, if it is a cancerous, what type of thyroid gland it is, or else it is a simple thyroiditis which is causing hyperthyroidism, or a nodule which is causing hyperthyroidism.
Okay, thank you so much. With this, we can come to the end of today's live show. Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
evening.
sir.